Ever get that feeling of just being stuck? Like in a really negative mood, and you just wish you could shake it off.
Oh, absolutely. We've all been there. It feels heavy, doesn't it?
Totally. And, well, what if I told you that that inner state, those moods, those feelings,
Mm.
they actually have this surprisingly powerful influence on what shows up in your life, your outer reality.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating idea that our inside world isn't just like reacting to the outside, but it's actively shaping it.
Exactly. And that's pretty much what we're going to dig into today. We're focusing on a 1964 lecture. It's by Neville Goddard called Be Master of the Mood.
Ah, Neville Goddard. Yeah, it's from one of his collections, right? His work often pushes you to see the power you have, inside yourself.
Right. And this lecture, honestly, it's just packed with really practical stuff, things you can almost like test out.
It sounds like it offers a direct path, sort of, to understanding and maybe even managing those inner states intentionally, which, in personal development, that's huge.
That's why we wanted to explore it with you. Because you, our listener, you're probably looking for that quick but still deep understanding, those aha moments,
Yeah.
right?
The insights that just click.
Well, get ready. Because like I said, this isn't just theory. Goddard gives these principles that feel almost experimental, things you can actually try.
Moving from feeling like things just happen to you to actually being part of creating the experience, that's a big shift.
So our mission for this deep dive is pretty clear. We're going to pull out the key ideas from this lecture, how to manage moods, how to use imagination to get the results you want.
And he uses his interpretations of scripture, but also these real-life stories people sent him, which makes it really grounded.
Yeah, those stories are something else. So we'll look at his framework, how he thinks we understand deeper truths, and how that connects to mastering our own, emotional world.
Sounds good. Where do we start with that framework?
Okay, yeah, let's unpack that first. Goddard kicks things off by laying out these 3 ways he sees that we understand things deeply, like scripture, but really anything important in life.
3 ways. Okay.
So the first way, he says, is super simple. It's just reading or hearing the story, getting to the basic narrative, what happens.
Right. That's the surface level. Anyone can access that, the starting point.
Exactly. But then comes number 2. You start to extract the meaning behind the story. You dig a bit deeper. What's the symbol? What's the lesson here?
Okay, so moving beyond the literal, looking for the allegory, the why behind the what interpretation.
But here's where it gets really, really interesting, the third way. According to Goddard, this is where you actually test that meaning. You try it out in your own life.
Ah, so personal experience.
He calls it the autobiographical revelation. It's not enough to just get it up here points to head. You have to see it work, live it out, for it to become real knowing.
So it moves from information to intellectual understanding and then finally to, lived proof. Validation through your own life.
Exactly. It becomes part of your story. Now, to kind of show this, he brings up the 42nd Psalm, and he calls it a maskil.
A maskil. Okay, I think that's a Hebrew term, right? For a psalm with, special instructions or deeper teaching.
Yeah, that's it. He points out it's the second of 13 maskils in the book of Psalms. And his whole point is, these aren't just nice poems. They're meant to teach us something profound if we, look closely.
So hidden depths within the text, basically, intended to guide us.
Right. So on the surface, Psalm 42, it feels like loneliness, doesn't it? This deep, deep yearning for something more, something the world can't quite give.
Yeah, that famous line, as the hart panteth after the water brook, so panteth my soul after thee, O God. It really captures that intense thirst, that longing.
Such powerful imagery. But it's not just longing. The psalmist is also, struggling inside, wrestling with doubt.
Right. There's belief, sure, but maybe not that direct personal experience yet. That felt connection.
Yeah. And he even talks to himself, urges his own soul to chill out and have hope. He says, why art thou cast down, O soul? Why are you disquieted within me? Hope in God. It's like he's trying to convince himself.
That gap between believing something intellectually and really knowing it in your bones, it's very human, that struggle.
Totally. And here's a really key insight Goddard pulls out. When that self-talk isn't working, when he's still feeling down, the psalmist does something specific. He starts remembering the past.
Ah, okay. How does that help?
He says, these things I remember as I pour out my soul. What he remembers is leading this huge, joyful crowd, singing praises, going to the house of God. A multitude-keeping festival.
So he deliberately focuses on a positive, joyful memory to shift his current state, like a mental tool.
Exactly. using memory to change the mood. But Goddard notes, even that amazing memory wasn't the ultimate thing the psalmist was looking for. That deep thirst was still there.
He still wanted that direct encounter, that personal experience of God, not just the memory of a past celebration.
Precisely. Now, this is where Goddard brings in those real-life examples you mentioned, stories people wrote to him, to make this less, abstract and show the power of imagination actually working.
Okay, yeah, let's hear some of those. They often make the principles much clearer.
Right. So first up, there's the story he calls The Greatest Dad. This guy, he really wanted to hear his son tell him, "You're the greatest dad in the world." Simple wish.
Okay.
So what he did was, just before sleep, he imagined hearing his son say exactly that, twice. Felt it was real. Then just, dropped off to sleep. Didn't tell a soul.
Just an interactive imagination.
Yep. Then Christmas morning comes. His son gives him a gift, a gold-plated cup on a wooden base, and engraved on it, "The world's greatest dad."
Wow, that specific phrase.
Exactly the phrase he imagined hearing. The son bought it himself. It's pretty startling, the directness of it.
It really is. The specificity suggests maybe a very direct link between the inner act and the outer world. It wasn't just a generally good feeling, it was the exact words.
Kind of spooky when you think about it like that. Okay, then there's another one from the same guy. The mistletoe and holly story.
All right.
So he sees his son's friend, Gary, looking really down because he wasn't selling his mistletoe. Later, this man, in his imagination, just hears his own son telling him that Gary sold all the mistletoe and made a $14 profit. He just kind of imagined that conversation.
Okay, conjured up that specific outcome in his mind.
Yeah. Then fast forward a bit, 2 days before Christmas, his son casually mentions Gary gave him some holly because he had mistletoe left over, and then confirms, yeah, Gary sold all the mistletoe for exactly $14 profit.
$14, the exact amount he imagined.
The exact amount. Again, the imagination seems to, precede the fact. And that specific detail, the $14, it really makes you pause, doesn't it?
It certainly does. It challenges the idea that our thoughts are just thoughts. It suggests they might be causative.
Mm-hmm. Then there's the block view story. It was a good one. Same man. Had this amazing hillside view from his dining room. Loved it.
Okay, nice view. What happened?
His neighbor's bamboo started growing like crazy and completely blocked it. Totally gone.
That's annoying.
Right. So what does he do? Doesn't say anything to anyone. He just sits there and vividly remembers the old view. The clear view. He experiences it in his imagination as if it's happening right now.
Okay, so he's holding the feeling, the image of the clear view.
For about 10 days he does this. Then his wife comes in, says, "Hey, guess what? The neighbor's cutting down the bamboo."
No way.
Yes way. And get this, they only cut down the exact stalks of bamboo that were blocking his specific view from the dining room window. The rest was left.
Seriously, just the ones blocking his view.
Just those ones. It's like the imaginal act was surgical or something. So specific.
That suggests
Oh, wow.
that the focus of the imagination can influence external events in a very, very targeted way.
It really makes you think. Okay, another type of example. The annoyed artist. This guy actually used feeling annoyed to fuel his imagination.
Annoyed? How does that work?
Well, he'd be stuck in a long bank line feeling irritated, right? But he'd imagine the reason he was there was to deposit this huge, big, fat check. The annoyance somehow made the reason for being there feel more real.
That's counterintuitive. Using a negative feeling to power a positive image.
Yeah. He gave another example. He desperately needed his house painted, but had no money. So he starts vividly imagining it's already painted.
Okay.
And he imagines feeling annoyed because the paint is still wet, and maybe the painters could see him showering because he didn't have curtains yet. He's smelling the wet paint, feeling it, getting really irritated it isn't dry.
So he's engaging multiple senses, smell, touch, sight, and adding that emotional charge of annoyance.
Exactly. Really intense imagination. Shortly after doing this, his agent calls him completely out of the blue. Says he's got $21,000 in residuals for him, money the artist didn't even know existed.
Wow, $21,000, just like that.
Just like that. More than enough to paint the house. The unexpected source is also pretty common in these stories, it seems.
That's incredible. The multisensory detail plus the emotion. Seems potent.
Definitely. Okay, one more quick one. The granddaughter and the kangaroo. This one's amazing.
Kangaroo, all right.
A grandmother's going on a big trip South Pacific, Orient. She asks her little 2-year-old granddaughter what she wants her to bring back.
What did she ask for?
A stuffed kangaroo. Very specific request from a 2-year-old. So Grandma gets to Australia, But she decides she doesn't really like the kangaroos there.
Oh dear. Change of plans.
Yeah, she sends a stuffed polar bear instead and writes to the mom saying, hey, polar bear coming, not kangaroo.
Okay, granddaughter's probably not going to be happy.
Not happy at all. She's upset, keeps talking about wanting her kangaroo. Nanny's getting me a kangaroo. Just insists on it.
Kids can be very focused when they want something.
Tell me about it. So 2 weeks later, the polar bear arrives. Granddaughter rejects it completely. Nope, not what she asked for.
Knew it.
But then, 48 hours later, completely unexpectedly, a package arrives.
Yeah.
Inside, a stuffed kangaroo.
Where did it come from?
Nobody knows. The granddaughter just says, I knew that Nanny bought me a kangaroo, but the grandmother swears she never bought one. It seems the granddaughter just accepted the kangaroo in her imagination so powerfully, it showed up.
That's mind-blowing. A 2-year-old's unwavering belief manifesting something physically across continents.
Wild, right? It really speaks to that pure, focused, imaginative power, especially in kids, maybe.
Definitely highlights that conviction, that inner knowing, overriding external facts. Wow.
So let's circle back to the 42nd Psalm for a minute. Remember how the psalmist recalled that joyful festival?
Yeah, but it wasn't enough. He still yearned for something more direct.
Exactly. Goddard suggests that deeper experience, that direct knowing, involves hearing an inner voice, a voice saying something like, and God walks with them.
Okay, so shifting from seeking God out there to finding God in here.
Pretty much. And when asked, well, where's God then? The voice replies, at your side. It's about recognizing that presence within or right beside you.
An internalized divinity, not separate.
Right. And the voice might even address you personally, maybe reflecting your own doubts, Goddard hints. But then comes the core message, the voice from deep within. I laid myself down within you to sleep, and as I slept, I dreamed a dream. I dreamed.
Implying that God is dreaming us, that our existence is the dream.
That's the implication, that the divine essence is dreaming the experience of being you. And Goddard connects this ultimate realization to that autobiographical understanding, the personal inner experience of, symbolically, crucifixion and resurrection within yourself.
So the scripture isn't just a story, it's a map to a potential inner transformation. A very profound one.
Okay, so how do we make this practical? How do we become master of the mood based on all this?
It seems the key is becoming really aware of your moods, doesn't it? Observing them.
Yeah, definitely. And then Goddard says, use anything, even things like irritation, like that artist, or just as strong as I'd use that energy to consciously shift.
Shift out of the negative state you don't want.
And into the desired state, using intense imagination, like really feel it.
Harnessing the emotional energy, even if it starts as negative, and redirecting it imaginatively towards what you do want.
He tells another story that really drives this home. A woman who was told, flat out, by someone, you will never get money from me, period.
Okay, pretty definitive rejection.
Right. But she decided for one whole week, she was just going to bathe in the feeling of financial security. She just lived in that feeling, mentally, emotionally, felt totally secure.
So a sustained immersion in the desired feeling despite the outer evidence.
Exactly, for a solid week.
Yeah.
Then, on the Saturday that week, the very same person who told her she'd get nothing
Yeah, what happened?
suddenly changes their mind completely. They set up a $540 monthly annuity for her, tax-free, and Dee paid for her to take a trip to Barbados.
Wow, that's a total reversal and incredibly generous.
Isn't it? It just shows the potential impact of really living in that desired emotional state. He links this directly to a chapter called Moods in his book, The Law and the Promise.
And the technique is basically feel the feeling of the wish fulfilled.
Pretty much. Ask yourself, what would it feel like if this were true right now? Then you capture that specific feeling, that mood, and you wear it, like putting on clothes.
Wear it until it feels natural, until it becomes your default state.
Yes. And when that mood feels genuinely natural, like it's just how you are, that's when it takes root. That's when it starts to harden into fact, as he would say.
The persistence, the naturalness of the feeling seems key.
He gives another example, too. A guy who loved the view of Budapest, just fell in love with it.
Okay, Budapest, beautiful city.
Later, he's living in Hollywood, finds a place with a similar kind of expansive view. But then, these poplar trees start growing tall and block it. Same problem as the bamboo guy.
Ah, the dreaded view-blocking trees.
Right. So what does he do? He vividly recalls the Budapest view in his mind's eye, feels that feeling, sees that unobstructed vista.
Focuses on the feeling and image he wants, ignoring the current reality of the trees.
And then, the specific poplar trees blocking his Hollywood view just died.
They died. Just the ones blocking the view.
Just those ones. And he interpreted this not as him killing trees, but as God or love or the universe, whatever you want to call it, simply rearranging reality to match his sustained imaginal act.
Again, that's specificity and the idea that the power works through circumstances, rearranging them rather than, say, violating natural laws in an obvious way. It finds a path.
Exactly. So it loops back to those 3 levels of understanding, doesn't it?
Yeah. The basic story, you see trees blocking the view.
The meaning may be understanding the power of inner focus.
And then the personal experience, the autobiographical level, seeing the trees die after the specific imaginal act. That's the deep knowing.
And Goddard really emphasizes that the ultimate destiny, the end game of all this, is awakening as that divine power, realizing your own essential nature is God.
Often symbolized, he suggests, by that inner experience mirroring crucifixion and resurrection, a complete transformation of identity.
Yeah, it's a profound journey he maps out. And he ties it to love, too, quoting scripture. Never would you have made anything had you not loved it.
So even apparent destruction, like the trees dying, is seen as a form of rearrangement stemming from love, from the desire for that beautiful view, not malice.
Right. It's about aligning reality with a loving desire held in imagination. He finishes with this beautiful quote from William Blake. Something about how our 5 senses might actually limit us.
Yeah. How do we know but every bird that cuts the airy wind is an infinite world of delight closed by our senses 5?
That's the one, suggesting there's so much more reality than we perceive. And he uses the kangaroo story again here, how that little girl's imagination worked across huge distances.
Reinforcing that our imaginal acts create facts. They aren't just fantasies.
He really urges people to take this seriously, but also naturally. Not strain, but just accept it as the way things work. He even throws in another quick healing story at the end, just more proof.
It's a compelling collection of ideas and anecdotes, all pointing to the same core principle.
Definitely. So I guess the main takeaway for everyone listening today is pretty clear, right?
Yeah, it seems to be that the real power lies in consciously choosing your mood, choosing the feeling state you want to live in.
And then embodying it through your imagination, really feeling it as real. It's about being deliberate with your inner world.
Recognizing feelings aren't just reactions, they're creative. They're actually like shaping forces.
So we really hope you'll, experiment with this. Try it out. Dare to actually wear the feeling of your wish fulfilled. See what happens.
It's not just wishful thinking, remember. It's about actively cultivating that inner emotional reality until it feels natural, because that's what seems to precede the outer change.
And you, listening, you've got the shortcut now. You've got this deep dive into a really profound concept and hopefully a practical tool you can use for your own life, your own transformation.
It's a framework for seeing yourself less as a passive observer and more as an active creator of your experience.
So here's a final thought to maybe chew on. What realities might you be creating kind of unconsciously right now, just with your everyday habitual moods and the stuff that runs through your imagination unchecked?
Ooh, yeah, that's a big question.
And then, flip side, what could you intentionally create if you really decided to become the master of your mood? If you really accepted that your own consciousness, your imagination, is the power that's running the show?
It really puts the responsibility and the potential squarely back on us, doesn't it? What are we choosing to feel and imagine into existence?
Lots to think about there. Thank you so much for taking this deep dive with us today.